Our next startup is Kanin Energy, our last House of Walkman startup. We will hear from Randy Rutherford. Randy was voted most likely to change Montana state motto of gold and silver to gold, silver, and waste heat energy.
All right. Not sure what to say about that intro, if I should be flattered or not, but I'll go with it. Thank you. So thanks everyone for being here, for your support of Rice Alliance and just everything that you bring to this program. I'm Randy Rutherford. I'm VP of Business Development at Kanin Energy, and we are a turnkey developer of industrial waste heat to power projects. Today, we're looking for corporate partners who are interested in deploying decarbonization projects at their sites. Here's the problem we address. Over half the energy delivered to an industrial facility is wasted. Often it just goes up in the smoke as rejected thermal energy. And we help manufacturers monetize this waste heat and reduce their carbon emissions, and it doesn't have to cost them a dime of their own capital. I'll get to that in a second, but first, why is this important? Well, because if you're a CEO in this space and heavy industry, you're under the microscope and in the crosshairs of multiple stakeholder groups to decarbonize your operations and to do it quickly. We help our partners meet this threat head on by delivering quick ESG wins and allowing them to emerge as ESG leaders in their industries. The technology we use is commercial. It's off-the-shelf organic Rankine cycle waste heat to power technology. It's well deployed in Europe, but not yet here in North America. And so we asked ourselves, why is that? And we landed on a couple of roadblocks. First, despite the relatively straightforward concept of waste heat recovery, it's actually a very complicated and complex development process. Requires expertise, across many different functions to really monetize all the project benefits. But perhaps more importantly, we identify what we call a misalignment of capital. These are large energy infrastructure projects. They don't have 2-year or less simple paybacks. They don't rise to the top of the corporate budgeting stack. So Kanin brings full scope development expertise, and we bring patient capital to these projects. It's a business model innovation that represents a new way to deploy existing technology. And again, we can do this at no cost to host facilities. Here's how it works. We go in and help identify and evaluate waste heat resources at large industrial manufacturers. If we find something that looks like a viable project opportunity, we'll come in and provide all the project development, all the detailed design, the EPC, commissioning, construction, O&M, all with funding from our financing partners. Then this third-party owned project will sell power back behind the meter, back to the host site, often at a discount to existing power costs on a long-term stable power purchase agreement. Our industrial partners benefit from lower cost, reliable power, but what we've really found resonates here, the real value is the replacement of grid power purchases with clean, baseload, emission-free electricity generated behind the meter. So it's a clear scope 2 emissions reduction story. It delivers a firm win against corporate ESG objectives. Our target industries here are the usual suspects where excess waste heat is generated. Our projects range in size from a couple hundred kilowatts to up to around 20 megawatts. This profile on the right is actually our first project in development. It's a natural gas compressor station in the upper Midwest, about 11 megawatt project, and it will deliver over 50,000 metric tons of CO2 reductions annually. This customer actually just notified us a couple of weeks ago that they now want to pursue 4 of these stations simultaneously, as opposed to just this one. So between a couple of existing customers, about 10 term sheets outstanding, we have very strong market validation for our value proposition. And one of the reasons is because we can deliver these benefits better than anyone else on the planet. We have a very unique team, as I said. We have full scope skill sets. We implement these projects in a way that we think technology providers, engineering firms, other developers would have a hard time doing and bringing those skills to the table. Again, this includes expertise in power and environmental markets, ORC technology, policy and legislation, project finance, the whole gamut. A little bit more about our team. Prior to founding Kanin, our team members designed and deployed about 50 megawatts of ORC projects here in North America. They're still currently operating. Jake, our chief technology officer, has about a decade of experience engineering and constructing energy infrastructure projects, including commissioning a very large $1 billion oil sands facility in northern Alberta. He's also designed and built a proprietary Stirling engine. Dan, over here in the lower left, our chief development officer, has a decade of experience in power and environmental markets. And Janice, who I believe you'll have the pleasure to meet shortly here, is our CEO. She was an early employee at Generate Capital out in Silicon Valley. She deployed over $500 million in energy assets there, and she was recently featured in Forbes magazine. Through Janice's past experience and really since founding Kanin, we as a company have been deeply embedded in the climate tech ecosystem. So finally, we'd welcome any interested corporates to reach out and get in touch, any manufacturers with waste heat over about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. We'd love to to chat with you to see if we can look at power production potential at your site. Again, at the end of our process, our goal is to deliver a decarbonization win and help your company emerge as an ESG leader in your industry. So with that, I'll wrap and say thanks to Rice and everyone here today.
Thank you so much, Randy. We'll spotlight Janice so she can join us for the question and answer portion, and we'll turn it over to our attendees for questions. We have our first from Vincent. Does the model you want to pursue in the US exist in Europe already? Or are there European projects based on a traditional CapEx model?
Yeah, I can take this one. So we right now are really focused on United States and Canada. That's just where our network is. That being said, we recently started conversations with a large utility in the United Kingdom. So that's our first real project in Europe. We know that the European market is great. We have an investment partner that is active in Europe. So we would love to go there. It's just a matter of bandwidth. But no, the European projects would not be based on a traditional CapEx model. It'd be based on the model that you're currently seeing today, if not even better, because there's lots of really great incentives in Europe. So if you have projects, we would love to go there. Just give us a shout.
Next question, Raj, from the chat. What's the typical payback period for your project look like?
The typical payback periods really depend on a function of the revenue. So because our projects can sell both behind the meter, back to the host or to the grid, that power price kind of varies. So in some cases, they can be as long as 7 to 10 years. Some cases they can be 2 or 3. It really depends on the available incentives. I'd say the average is about 5 to 7 years on average. If you look at typical payback periods required of like say a cement plant or an oil and gas facility, they're typically looking at 2 years or less payback. And so that's a really big reason why traditionally this waste heat to power sector hasn't really picked up. But by bringing dedicated infrastructure capital that is comfortable with the longer payback times, that's how we're able to unlock this sector.
Okay, next question from Hani. Are there geographic areas for waste heat energy to be economical? In other words, colder climates due to the larger temp difference?
I can start on that, Janice, and let you chime in. Certainly the colder environments help a slight bit with efficiency in terms of power generation. It's not too significant. We'll derate maybe 5 to 10% of power output based on the ambient temperature. Again, as you mentioned, colder ambient being better. Really, our projects are targeting jurisdictions and geographies where we see attractive and favorable economic incentives. And Janice, if you want to speak to how we go about doing that and how that plays a role in our economics.
Yeah, like I said before, it's really a function of grants, different types of power rates. So in regions where the power rates are high, so you're seeing like kind of the coastal regions, that would be the highest payback periods, the highest returns. That being said, we don't necessarily need the highest returns to make these projects go. We're kind of looking for kind of minimum hurdle rate, and we're seeing projects even in the Midwest and the South still work.
From Farouk. Do you have any optimization or proprietary processes?
Yeah, so the quote unquote IP that we have is really in our sales process, our screening and scoping of projects. So as a development company, we actually pride ourselves in being technology agnostic. So we're really looking at there's a lot of really great technology providers that's already out there, and it's constantly changing and evolving. So we're trying to get the best technology as it changes and evolves, and we find that technical fit for our partners. Where we come in and are special is how we integrate that into the facility, how we manage the execution, and into the streamlining of our operations for the customer. And then finally, our optimization of the different revenue, like electricity markets, the grants, carbon markets, all that stuff. That's definitely in our wheelhouse and something that traditional EPCs or traditional tech providers won't quite have extensive knowledge in.
All right, we're actually out of time, though there is one more question in the Q&A that y'all can address afterwards. 2 more. Thank you so much, Randy. Thanks. And Janice.
Thank you.